Welcome to KJTV. We are going to talk about a very important topic which is trending now about Dr. Arakana Chihombori, who is the ambassador of African Union in the United States of America. In this regard, recently, which is trending and people are petitioning because he was purportedly removed from office by the signing of the letter by Moussa Faki, who is the chairman of African Union Commission in Addis Ababa. Moussa Faki signed a letter terminating his service, and this has caused uproar in the media. Actually, in the letter he clearly said, which was written in October 7th, that I have the honor to inform you that in line with the terms and conditions of service governing your appointment as permanent representative of the African Union mission to the United States of America in Washington, D.C., I have decided to terminate your contract in that capacity with effect from 1st November 2019. This is quite amazing, really, that he has the honor. You know, we are talking of Moussa Faki. Moussa Faki is a man, a well-read man. He has a law degree from University of Brazzaville in Congo. He has served as a minister in Chad, as a prime minister. He has served in various ministries, and including as a prime minister. Does this language clearly shows that it was written by Moussa Faki, a lawyer? Hey, no, I do not expect that, but that is, I will leave it for linguists. But my concern here is, why did they terminate the ambassador, Arakana Chihombori? You know, and it was interesting, a press release which was released on October 15, 2019. It says that communication on the end of tenure of Ambassador Arakana Chihombori Kwao, and it states like the African Union Commission is aware of reports circulating on social media making claims surrounding the circumstances of the recall of the permanent representative of the African Union mission to the United States of America. It says political appointees at the African Union, including Dr. Chihombori, are appointed at the discretion of the appointing authority. The duration of such a political appointments is also determined at the discretion of that appointing authority. Dr. Chihombori received a letter on October 7, 2019, bringing her to our duty to an end in line with the terms and conditions of service, as it says. That is the press release which was supposed to released today. Now, you know, what is he trying to say? That Dr. Chihombori has never been sanctioned by the Commission on any public pronouncement she has made during her 3-year tenure, and nor has the Commission ever thought the need to do so. On the contrary, Dr. Chihombori has maintained a public presence freely without fear or prejudice to voice our opinions. Now, this is just a mere exercise. Then why did they terminate her? She was appointed in 2017, and now 2019 her term is over. Let's take, in the African Union, this position has only been served by 2 people. In 2007, Amina Salum Ali from Tanzania was appointed to that seat, where she remained from 2007 to 2017. 10 years. Why, Mr. Moussa Faki, can you explain why her tenure was so short, and yet we had Amina who served for such a long time? You have to ask, because this is a very short time for her. And what is actually the reason why you are terminating her? Let us not forget, one of the things why they have really removed him is because he has articulated the hidden or implicit dealings of the colonial legacy in Africa. He has passionately talked about how the colonial legacies has articulated in East Africa, in Africa actually. Look at that clip.
Ourselves the question, how did we get here? How did Africa end up where Africa is? Allow me to take you to 1884, Berlin Conference. From November of 1884 to February of 1885, our colonizers met to discuss how to make sure that Africa and its children are forever defeated and dominated. Prior to 1884, they were going into Africa in a very haphazard way. They started stealing from each other what they had stolen from the Africans. They were getting ready to have a European war on the African soil. The then Chancellor of Germany, Bismarck, realizing that what was getting ready to happen, called in his sidekick, then King of Belgium, Leopold, and said, we are getting ready to have a problem. Could we please call all the colonizers to come and meet in Berlin, Germany? Let's discuss, let's organize ourselves to see to it that we can effectively loot from the Africans. So it is they met between November of 1884 and 1885 precisely to make sure Africa and its children are forever defeated and dominated. The way they did it is by chopping Africa up into the tiny little economies that we see today. Countries like Burundi, Togo, Djibouti, Central African Republic, Malawi, Mozambique, the list goes on. Pretty much all the African.
Before colonialism, before 1884, before the Berlin Conference, he has articulated how Africa was destroyed, was divided, was partitioned during the Berlin Conference. That was one thing he has passionately talked, and he has touched so many hearts of people, how the colonial masters divided Africa. At the same time, he has talked about in 1958 to 1961, when some African countries were getting independence, and when they decided to start Organization of African Union, what the colonialists did, how they divided Africa, the Pan-Africanism and the nationalism, which we called the Casablancas and the Monrovia group, which you can see she has articulated it very well.
They clearly stated that Africa for the Africans at home and abroad, and that African Union was now. They said Africa must speak with one voice. It is the only way for Africa to take its rightful place on the world stage. Sadly, when they went to Addis Ababa in 1963, they were divided. We had two factions, the Casablanca group and the Monrovia group. The Casablanca group were saying Africa for the Africans at home and abroad, and African Union now. This was Ghana, Guinea, Mali, Egypt, Morocco, Algeria, and Tunisia. Only 7. The other 25 of the 32 who attended were the Monrovia group. They were the nationalists. They said, let's go slow. Let's kind of wait on this Pan-African thing. 55 years later, 56 this year, we're still going slow.
One of the things he has given clearly is about when oil was discovered in Equatorial Guinea. This is something I didn't know. I know, but he has put a meat on it, and that's why he has become a thorn on France. And Moussa Faki is acting on the command of his colonial master, France, about the coup in Equatorial Guinea.
Every time an African leader has tried to do what's best for their country, they were assassinated. Majority of them aided by France. It's a known fact. And then others, they were just mercenaries who felt that when there was a natural resource discovered in one country, they wanted to create a coup. So while the country is thrown into a civil war, they're siphoning the natural resource. We know of one particular story that had we not known about it, it would have been, oh, there we go again, the Africans. In about 25 years ago, a group of young, rich white kids were having fun in Cape Town. They found out that there was oil in Equatorial Guinea that just been discovered, and they wanted it. So they set out a plan to have a coup in Equatorial Guinea. So while the Guineans are busy fighting a civil war, they will be siphoning the oil. But they made one mistake. There were two planes. One was to leave South Africa, stop in Zimbabwe, pick up more ammunition on their way to hunt in Equatorial Guinea. Another plane was taking off in the Caribbean that had this puppet diaspora who was supposed to be the next president. Mugabe wondered why such young people needed such powerful ammunition to go hunt in Equatorial Guinea. In doing his research further, he found out that this was a coup in the making. He allowed them to land in Zimbabwe. They loaded their plane, and just before takeoff, they were all arrested. The ringleader of that group was none other than the son of the former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Margaret Thatcher. She had to fly to Zimbabwe and paid handsomely to get her son out. The last one of those prisoners left Zimbabwe about 6-7 years ago. Had these young people succeeded, it would have been another coup. There you go, the Africans again.
You can see that clip, France Pact of Continued Colonization, where actually they expose that the pact most of the African colonies signed in 1960 before attaining independence, it was that they had to deposit 85% of the bank reserves in France. And France had to invest it in the stock exchange, and whatever they get, you don't know the value. That is what is affecting. And that's what many people don't know. So he had hammered France on that.
When the colonizers were leaving the continent between 1958 and 1961, France did something that was just downright terrible. Made the African leaders sign what they call the Pact for the Continuation of Colonization. France made the Francophone countries sign the Pact for the Continuation of Colonization. Allow me to highlight a few of the items in the Pact for the Continuation of Colonization, and I urge all of you to Google it and read it. And if that does not disgust you, I don't know what will. First, the French said, well, you see, we built a few schools, a few roads, a few hospitals, taught you about the fork and knife and sitting on a table and eating with utensils. We're going to call that the colonial debt. And for that you shall pay to perpetuity. In addition, you will deposit 85% of your bank reserves with the Minister of Finance, the French Minister of Finance. Collectively, the Minister of Finance, the French Minister of Finance will take all your deposits. It was 85% back then. It's now down to about 60. The French minister will invest that money in the French stock exchange under the French name. You may or may not know the returns. Today, France is taking out of Africa, Francophone Africa, over $500 billion. Over $500 billion. We, the Africans, the poor countries, we are giving France over $500 billion a year in, year out. And no one is talking about it. The latest figures are saying for every $14 billion that France takes out of Africa, by the time they finish investing it, they're realizing upwards of $300 billion for every $14 billion. So in actuality, France is taking out of Africa trillions of dollars year in, year out. Should any of those countries wish to access some of their own money that they deposited with France, they have to submit their own financial reports for the country. And if approved, they can only access up to 20% of that money as a loan at commercial interest rates. Figure that one out. That is our reality. It gets better. They were also told that if you need any military equipment, you can only purchase it from France. Your military can only be trained by France. That France will have military presence in your own country and can invade you without notice should they feel French interests are being violated. Language of instruction shall be French. All your minerals discovered, yet to be discovered, France has the first right of refusal. All the contracts, big contracts, private and public, French companies have the first right of refusal. Now, my brothers and sisters, sons and daughters, if you were to go home and run for president, and your first day in office, your chief of staff comes to you and say, oh, by the way, Mr. President, Madam President, before you start, I must read you the do's and don'ts as stipulated by the pact for the continuation of colonization. And your chief of staff reads this to you. What power do you have?
You know, this is something that it has to be a awakening call. Actually, Dr. Arakana is not even supposed, the seat he's having as an ambassador is too small. This is an accomplishment if you listen how he is articulating these issues. She is supposed to be the president of Zimbabwe. I wish the Zimbabweans would see if you can elect that lady, you will turn around Zimbabwe. This is a man, this is a lady who is actually supposed to be the chairman of African Union. She's a well accomplished, maybe many people who don't know, you know, this is a lady who is an articulate speaker, an educator, diplomat, and is having a medical degree. You know, he's a medical doctor, but yet his grasp of history, you would wonder this was a political scientist, but he's a medical doctor. Not even historians have articulated the issues of the colonial legacies in Africa like this lady. You know, she had his bachelor's degree in general chemistry and a master's degree in organic chemistry, and then a doctoral medicine degree from Mehar Medical College in the United States of America. That is a lady who has really articulated these issues than a political scientist ever. This is a woman who needs to head the African Union if she cannot be the head of state. I will say this to Moussa Faki. Serve your masters, but we are watching you. I think, and I will thank Dr. Arakana for what she has done. And I know what she has left even to the people of the diaspora and the people of Africa. If we can listen to her voice, Africa will change. Thank you very much.